2 full days of riding in. Total of about just under 200 miles. And we're going to take a look at Dale's springs, the Schmidty springs, to see how they're wearing. Of course, I'm right in the sunlight, but I'll tell you, pretty impressed. I'm not seeing a whole lot of wear. There's a little bit of wear on the inside of the collar, but I'm pretty well even around the shock body with the divider, so that's pretty good. This one looks pretty good too. A little bit of wear on the crossover ring, but I'm not really seeing any shock body wear to speak of. And you can notice here how we've lined these up. That's different than what shock therapy has us do, so I think that might be a big contributor to making this better.
Here's what I found.
No wear on the front either. That all looks pretty good. That looks good. He's also saying that he's not getting any bottom outs, which is good. That's one of the main benefits, you know, in those G outs. He's even whenever we go over the water bars, the drainage bars, he's not getting the bang in the front with the shocks, which causes us to want to use the limit straps on the shock therapy ones. I really don't understand why that would not be the case. Why he wouldn't get the same amount of downforce when all the weight comes off those front tires, because I think the spring rates are roughly similar and the lengths are roughly similar. So not sure I understand that, but he's saying he's not getting that banging. Here's my shock therapy springs. Same ride. You can see this is canted and it's rubbing pretty hard inside there. You can see the divider ring is pretty worn. And this one is definitely wearing right here, and wearing the crossover ring. But you can actually see on these that they're physically bowed. Now I haven't lined these up like Schmidty says to line them up yet, so that might be the trick. And this crossover ring is actually an Eibach because the shock therapy ones are just so expensive. And you can see on my fronts, the divider is really canted and rubbing the shock body there. So like I said, I think if we go with the alignment that Schmidty prescribes, it might help us out a lot. So when we get it home, get it all cleaned up, we got a lot of work to do. I've got blown bushings all over the place. My bearings are pretty good, but I'm going to tear the front end apart for sure to put new bushings in, and we're going to reclock these springs the way Schmidty prescribes, and we'll see how that works. All right, so now that we're back home, we got the Pro XP pulled in the garage and we got all the shocks off. I've got to do some bushing work also, so we've got A-arms off. But that gives us an opportunity to tear down these Walker Evans shocks and look at the shock therapy springs. See what kind of wear we're having. We already know that we have wear, but I'm going to look at them, and I thought that we would try to clock them the same as the Schmidty springs. What I found whenever I took the springs off of the Pro XP in here, I had already had one of the rears clocked like Schmidty prescribes, and it really wasn't helping that much. The other rear was clocked just slightly differently. It was not 180 out like Shock Therapy prescribes, and the fronts were 180 out, just like they were when we initially installed them. The rubbing wasn't as severe on the front, so we didn't mess with those too much. Without further ado, let's take a look at these shock bodies with the Shock Therapy springs. All right, so you can see here, this is the right rear. The crossover ring is pretty tore up. You can see here I've marked this because I'm going to take this, I'm going to swap this out, but I wanted you to see the wear on it. You can see here, actually it's this one. This is where the springs were 180 out, and by 180 out I mean the tangs at the end of the springs were 180 degrees out from each other. So that's this wear, and this wear that you're seeing here is from them being clocked just slightly differently than Schmidty. And on the other shock on the left hand side, I'll show you that that one was clocked just like Schmidty. So this is obviously a longer surface area of wear. This one is much shorter, but it's much deeper. So not really sure which one is better. I'd probably prefer to have that wear distributed a little bit. So when I reassemble these, I'm probably going to put them back the way Schmidty says to do that. So here we're looking at the left rear. This wear area here is a result of being clocked like Schmidty prescribes. You can see here also we have an Eibach crossover ring on here. There is some wear on this one as well. We're going to be putting an Eibach ring on the right hand side also. This right here is the original wear spot for the springs being 180 out. You can see again, consistent with the other one, this is shorter, but it's also deeper. So we're just going to look at one of these fronts. The fronts are pretty much the same. The wear is not nearly as bad for sure as it is on the back, but the shocks are a whole lot shorter. The spring pack's a whole lot shorter. This is the front right shock. The rears don't care which side they're on, but the fronts are specific to a side. So if you're taking them both off at the same time, make sure that that you have them marked. So you can see there's wear here on this shock body, but it's not too bad. I'm not really concerned about that. You can see the crossover ring is still intact. Of course, this is at the very top of the spring pack, so I wouldn't expect to get any rubbing there. Again, yeah, the fronts aren't bad at all. Now, when I looked at Dale's, and you can go back and look at the video in the beginning of this, the divider was pretty much even all the way around. Now, whenever I looked at these on mine, it was like this, rubbing. Even stationary with the machine sitting still, this is how this was kind of lined up. So with the Schmidty, it looked nice and even all the way around, which is a good thing. If you look at this, obviously there's a lot of wear in there. Again, these are shock therapy, results of shock therapy. So I did buy brand new dividers. So I'll be putting those in. Here's the new divider for the rear. So that's going to be going in. And here's the old divider for the rear. So you can see they're pretty worn. And they were starting to get some wear right there where they make contact with the crossover rings. We've had great experience with shock therapy performance-wise. Just not happy with the shock body wear. Shock therapy does say that, hey, this is just the way it is. The crossover rings are also a wear item. They believe it's something that you just have to live with. It's part of owning a side-by-side, but Schmidty disagrees. Schmidty claims that they have not had issues with rubbing. However, their disclaimer, like I said in the first video, does say that, hey, if you're getting in mud and stuff like that, you could have wear. And I do expect that we will have some wear. Even the stock springs wear. Stock springs are junk, but even they wear the shock bodies. We're gonna give Schmidty a try. So I will likely be getting rid of these shock therapy springs, giving Schmidty a try on my Pro XP. We will leave shock therapy on the RS1. The RS1 doesn't get a whole lot of action these days. Unfortunately, that's a super fun machine. But one thing that I am gonna do, and I've already placed the order for, is I'm gonna get some spring bags from Eibach. So Eibach makes neoprene spring bags. I'll put the links to those spring bags in the description below. It's unclear if they actually make them for the Pro XP Walker shocks. They do make them for the Pro XP Fox Dynamics. So that's what I bought. I bought the ones that were for the Fox, and we'll see how they work on here. I don't know why they wouldn't work. I think the spring diameter is a little bit different, but the Walkers are have a smaller diameter. So if anything, the bags will be too large. Too large is better than too small. So we're gonna give that a shot, try to keep the mud out. Definitely mud and grit and everything that gets inside these dividers is causing a lot of abrasion. So we're gonna try to mitigate some of that with these spring bags, shock overs, shock covers, spring covers, whatever you wanna call them. Eibach calls them spring bags. So that's what we're gonna go with. So the Schmidty springs are a little more expensive, but if you don't need the limit straps, that saves you about $270. So without limit straps, then the Schmidty setup is actually less expensive. So you can decide for yourself if you think you would want limit straps anyway, but that is definitely a cost savings. So to wrap up, the Pro XP will likely get changed over to Schmidty springs. We'll see how it goes with the new clocking and the bags. If I got a new machine tomorrow, I'd put Schmidty on. I'd pick Schmidty over shock therapy at this point. 100%, no doubt in my mind. That's what we would do. So take that for what it's worth. Hope you found this video useful, informative. Hang around for part 3, where we get some side-by-side comparison with both of these spring setups on pretty much identical machines. Our machines weigh about the same. They have very similar accessories, and the passengers weigh about the same. So it should be a pretty good comparison. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the alerts bell so that you're notified when we get our next video up. And hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon. Dirty Roosters out.